He had no arms. She was 15 years old, and she was climbing a 30-foot cliff wall with nothing but stumps scraping gravel and sheer will. This is how Mary Vincent refused to die. You're 15 years old, alone, drenched in blood. Your arms are gone. Below you, a 30-foot ravine. Above you, a man who just tried to murder you. This isn't a horror movie. This is Mary Vincent's reality one September night in 1978. And what she did next defied every law of biology, fear, and human endurance. 15 years old, a dream of bright lights and stage curtains. That's all Mary Vincent carried when she left home that September. She was small, barely 5 feet tall, with a smile that made people want to protect her. But behind that smile, a quiet toughness, a restlessness, the kind that made her believe hitchhiking alone from California to Las Vegas was a good idea. She wanted to dance, to disappear into a crowd where no one knew her name. And that's when the road offered her a lie. A man pulled over, rolled down his window. Lawrence Singleton, 51 years old, wore work clothes, spoke softly, polite as Sunday service. He looked like somebody's grandfather, the kind who'd fix your bike or slip you candy after church. When he offered a ride north, Mary saw kindness, not the hatchet in his trunk, not the calculation in his eyes. She said yes. One word, one ordinary choice, the kind we make every day without thinking. That yes dropped her into a nightmare. The highway hummed, tires on asphalt, radio static. Mary stared out the passenger window at the California scrubland, dry hills, dusty oaks. Normal, ordinary. Lawrence Singleton drove in silence. Then, near Modesto, his voice cut through the quiet. Let's stretch our legs. Just like that. Casual. Like he needed fresh air. He pulled the car onto a dirt track, bumping into the wilderness. Mary stepped out. The air smelled hot. Pine needles. Distant earth. Thwack. No warning. No shout. Just the sickening, wet crack of steel meeting bone. A wrench. He'd swung it hard, straight to the back of her skull. Mary didn't even cry out. Her world went black. Not peaceful sleep. A thick, suffocating nothing. Time dissolved. She surfaced hours later. Not in a bed. Not safe. Darkness. Cold dirt pressed against her cheek. Rope bit into her wrists. Her ankles. Tied tight. Pine branches clawed the night sky above her. She was deep in the woods. Alone. Except she wasn't. He was there. Standing over her. The grandfatherly mask was gone. In its place, something flat. Empty. Like looking into the eyes of a shark. Mary's mouth was dry as sandpaper. She tried to speak. A whimper escaped. He didn't answer. He just moved. What happened next? Words feel too small. Too clean. He attacked her. Violated her. Tore away her innocence in that dark, lonely place. The smell of damp soil and pine resin mixed with something metallic. Fear. Her fear. Sharp. Acidic. She couldn't fight. Couldn't run. Rope burned her skin. The forest swallowed her screams. He finished. Stood up. Brushed dirt off his pants. Like tending a chore. Mary lay broken. Shivering. Barely breathing. But he wasn't done. He walked back to his car. Mary heard the trunk pop open. Hinges groaned. Metal scraped metal. He came back carrying something. Long handle. Heavy head. A hatchet. Moonlight glinted cold off the blade. He knelt beside her. His breath smelled stale. Cigarettes. Coffee. Nothing human. Lie still, he ordered. Not angry. Not excited. Just matter of fact. Like telling her to pass the salt. Mary froze. Terror locked her muscles. Ice flooded her veins. She saw the hatchet rise. Saw the dark stain of her own blood already on the blade. Thunk. The first blow hit her left arm. High. Near the shoulder. Agony exploded. White hot. Blinding. Bone shattered. Thunk. The second blow. Lower. More force. A wet, tearing sound. Muscle. Tendon. Thunk. The third. Savage. Final. Her left arm gone. Just like that. Severed. She didn't scream. Shock clamped her throat shut. She just stared, disbelieving, at the ruin. Blood pulsed onto the forest floor. Dark. Hot. Unstoppable. He shifted position. The hatchet rose again. Thunk. 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 3 more blows. Faster this time. Brutal efficiency. Her right arm. Gone. Mary didn't feel the pain anymore. Not clearly. It was too big. A tidal wave washing over her, dragging her under. She felt cold. Unbelievably cold. Like she'd been plunged into winter water. She heard gurgling. realized it was her own breath. Struggling, weak, he stood over her, looking down, at his work, at the girl bleeding into the dirt. He didn't smile, didn't frown, just observed, like checking a task off a list. Then he grabbed her. Not gently, not carefully. He scooped her up like a sack of garbage. Limp, useless. Her head lolled. She saw the stumps. Raw, angry meat, bone gleaming white under the moonlight. She saw the blood soaking his shirt. Her blood. He carried her, away from the trees, towards a steep drop, a cliff edge. Mary's vision blurred. Gray spots danced. She smelled the void before she saw it, cold air rising from below. Empty space. He didn't pause, didn't hesitate. He simply threw her. A short flight. Weightless. Terrifying. Then impact. She hit the rocky slope halfway down. Tumbling. Rolling. Bones snapped. Ribs. Collarbone. Rocks tore her skin. Branches whipped her face. She crashed through scrub. Plunged into thick blackberry brambles at the bottom of the ravine. Thorns ripped into her, like a million tiny knives. She lay still, broken, barely conscious. 30 feet above, she heard footsteps, crunching on gravel, walking away, back towards the car. Silence settled, heavy, oppressive. The smell of crushed berries and wet earth mixed with the thick, coppery stench of her own blood. Pain came roaring back, a living thing, gnawing, consuming. Her arms gone, the stumps pressed against the dirt. Agony, cold seeped into her bones. Shock trembled through her. Death felt close, warm, inviting. Just stop. Stop fighting. Stop hurting. Then, above her, she heard it. The car doors slam. An engine coughed to life. Tires crunching on dirt. Getting fainter. Leaving. He thought she was dead. A discarded thing. A sound escaped Mary's lips. Not a scream. Not a word. A tiny, broken whimper. Barely a breath. Like a wounded animal in the dark. He didn't hear it. That was his mistake. Because that whimper, that tiny, desperate gasp of air, that was life, refusing to end. Mary Vincent was still alive. Silence, not peaceful silence, the silence of a grave. Mary lay at the bottom of the ravine. Blackberry thorns dug into her back. Her face, her legs, like barbed wire. Blood soaked through her clothes, warm. Then cold, sticky against her skin. Above her, the cliff face loomed. 30 feet of dirt, rock, and sheer terror. Her arms were gone. Gone. Not injured. Not broken. Severed. The stumps pulsed with a deep, sickening agony. A raw, open burn, like holding a live wire against raw nerves. Every heartbeat sent fresh waves of pain crashing through her. Every shallow breath scraped like glass in her lungs. She was freezing, shivering uncontrollably. Shock's icy fingers wrapped around her bones. This is where I die. The thought was clear, almost calm. She could just stop, close her eyes, let the cold take her, let the pain fade into nothing. It would be easy, so easy. But then another thought, smaller, sharper, cutting through the fog. If I die here, no one finds him. Lawrence Singleton, the monster, the grandfatherly face hiding the hatchet. He would drive away, wash her blood off his hands. Live, breathe, laugh, find another girl. No, not if she had breath left in her body. Not if she could move one single inch. Mary Vincent decided to climb. Think about that. Really think. How do you climb a cliff with no arms, no hands to grip, no fingers to claw? Just stumps, raw wounds grinding against rock. Mary didn't have an answer. She just had rage and terror and a refusal to let him win. She rolled onto her stomach. Agony screamed through her shattered ribs. She bit down on a whimper. No sound. He might hear. She dragged herself forward. An inch. Then another. Thorns ripped at her clothes. Her skin. She didn't feel them. The bigger pain swallowed everything else. She reached the base of the slope. Dirt. Loose gravel. Jagged rocks poking through. She looked up. The top seemed miles away. Impossible. She pressed her face into the dirt. Smelled earth. Rot. Her own blood. Move. She dug her right elbow into the soil. Hard. Like an anchor. Bent her knee. Dug her toes into the gravel. Pushed. Her body slid forward. 6 inches. Her left stump scraped against a sharp rock. White-hot fire exploded. She saw stars. Breathed through her nose. Fast. Shallow. Move. Right elbow anchor. Toes dig. Push. Slide. Left stump drags. Hits another rock. Agony. Move. Elbow. Toes. Push. Slide. It wasn't climbing. It was crawling. Dragging. Hauling dead weight up a mountain of pain. Every inch cost her. Blood seeped from her stumps, smearing the dirt dark red. She left a wet, glistening trail behind her. 10 feet up, the slope got steeper. Loose stones skittered out from under her. She slid back. A foot. Panic choked her. No going back. She jammed her elbow deeper. Felt bone grate against stone. Bit her lip until she tasted blood. Pushed with her toes. Harder. Muscles screaming. Up. An inch. Another. 15 feet. Halfway. Exhaustion hit her like a wall. Her vision blurred. Gray at the edges. Tunnel vision. The world tilted. She felt dizzy. Weak. So weak. Blood loss. The thought drifted. Cold and clinical. She was bleeding out. Right here. Right now. Onto this stupid cliff. Stop. Rest. Just for a second. No. The image flashed. Singleton's empty eyes. The hatchet rising. If I die here, he wins. She screamed inside her head. A silent roar of defiance. Move. She slammed her elbow down. Found a root sticking out. Hooked it. Pulled. Her body lurched upward. A foot. 2 feet. Momentum. Then her toe slipped. Gravel gave way. She started to slide backwards. Down. Towards the blackberry thorns. Towards death. No. She twisted. Threw her weight sideways. Slammed her hip into a jagged outcrop of rock. Pain exploded in her side. But she stopped sliding. She hung there. Panting. Trembling. Sweat and blood stinging her eyes. The rock dug into her hip bone. A new pain. A sharp, bright counterpoint to the deep throb of her stumps. She used it. Used the rock like a step. Shoved against it. Up. Elbow hook. Toe dig. Shove. Up. Ignore the fire in her shoulders. Ignore the grinding in her ribs. Ignore the terrifying lightness in her head. The world shrinking to just this. Dirt. Rock. Pain. Up. 25 feet. The top was close. 5 feet away. A lip of dirt and grass. Safety. But the slope here was almost vertical. Loose dirt. No roots. No rocks to hook. Mary stared at it. 5 feet. An impossible wall. She tried to wedge her elbow in. The dirt crumbled. Fell away. She tried her other stump. Same thing. Just loose earth raining down. Panic fluttered in her chest. A trapped bird. So close. She looked down. A mistake. The ravine gaped below. Dark. Deep. The blackberries looked like teeth. 30 feet was a long way to fall. Especially onto thorns. Especially with no arms to break your fall. Her breath came in ragged sobs. Tears mixed with blood and sweat on her face. Think. Think. She pressed her chest flat against the dirt wall. Spread her legs wide for balance. Then she lifted her head. Looked straight at the top edge. She didn't have hands. But she had teeth. She lunged upward. Sank her teeth into a thick clump of dry grass at the cliff's edge. Bite. Hold. The grass ripped. Roots tore. Dirt filled her mouth. She gagged. Spat. But she held on. She dug her toes in deep. Pushed with everything left in her broken legs. Her head cleared the edge. Her shoulders. She threw her weight forward. Rolled. Onto flat ground. Solid earth. Dirt. Dry grass. She lay on her back. Staring up at the gray dawn sky. No strength left. Not even to breathe. Her body was a map of pain. Her stumps were raw hamburger pressed against the cool dirt. She tasted blood and earth in her mouth. But she was up. Out of the grave. 30 feet. She'd climbed it. With no arms. With nothing but rage. And teeth. And a refusal to die in the dark. Mary Vincent lay on solid ground. Alive. For now. Flat ground. Solid earth. Dawn light. Gray and cold. Creeping over the hills. Mary lay where she'd collapsed at the top of the cliff. Alive. But the cliff wasn't the finish line. It was just the start of a new kind of hell. 3 miles. That's how far she was from the highway. From help. From any chance of living through this. 3 miles. With no arms. Shattered ribs. A body screaming from blood loss and shock. And night wasn't over yet. The deepest dark still clung to the land. Move. The word wasn't a thought. It was a command from somewhere deeper than pain. Deeper than fear. She rolled onto her side. Agony ripped through her. Fresh blood seeped from her stumps, soaking into the dirt. She got her knees under her. Somehow, the world tilted violently. She swayed. Almost fell. Move. She couldn't stand. Not straight. Her balance was gone with her arms. Her legs shook like rotten twigs. So she crawled, not on hands and knees, on knees and stumps. She lifted her body, threw her weight forward, landed on her knees, dragged her torso, then jammed her right elbow into the dirt, levered herself up again, threw forward, landed, lurch, drag, jam, lurch. Each movement was a fresh explosion of pain. Each lurch forward ground her raw stumps into the rough, unforgiving ground. Dirt and tiny stones embedded themselves in the open wounds. It felt like dragging herself over broken glass. She reached the edge of the clearing, found the dirt road, hard-packed earth, rutted by tires. It stretched ahead, a pale ribbon vanishing into the black trees. Endless. 3 miles. Mary Vincent started down it, a broken thing crawling through the dark. The rhythm was torture. Lurch, drag, jam, pain, lurch, drag, jam, pain. Her breath came in short, ragged gasps. Her mouth tasted like copper and dust. Every few yards, the world would flicker, gray at the edges, then black. She'd pass out, just collapse forward onto the road, face in the dirt, unconscious. Seconds? Minutes? She didn't know. She'd wake up, disoriented, freezing cold one moment, burning hot the next. Shock playing its cruel games. Flies buzzed around her, drawn to the blood. They landed on her stumps, crawled on her neck. A constant, maddening itch she couldn't scratch. Move. She'd push herself back onto her knees, jam her elbow. Lurch, drag, jam. The road felt like sandpaper grinding her knees raw. Her jeans tore, skin scraped off, blood mixed with the dirt caking her legs. The miles didn't pass. They bled by, drop by agonizing drop. Then, light, headlights, far down the road, approaching, panic, cold and sharp, cut through the fog of pain. Him. It had to be him. Singleton. Coming back. Coming to finish the job. To make sure. Mary didn't think. She reacted. She threw herself sideways. Off the road. Into the ditch. Thorns. Weeds. Cold. Wet mud. She buried herself in it. Pressed her face down. Held her breath. The engine grew louder. Closer. Lights swept over the ditch. Blinding. Illuminating the wet grass inches from her face. Please don't stop. Please don't stop. The car didn't slow. Didn't pause. Tires hissed on the dirt. Red taillights glowed. Then vanished around a bend. Not him. Just someone. Someone driving right past a girl dying in a ditch. She lay there for a long time, shaking. The cold mud sucked the tiny warmth she had left. Move. It was harder now. Getting back onto the road. The ditch lip was steep. Mud slippery. She slid back twice, whimpering. Finally hauled herself up. Back to the lurch. Drag. Jam. She lost track of time. Lost track of distance. The road curved. Uphill. A small rise. Every lurch was a mountain. Her vision swam constantly. Gray. Black. Sparkles of light. She was so cold. Deep inside. A cold no sun could touch. Her clothes were stiff with dried blood. Heavy. The flies were worse. A buzzing shroud. She reached the crest of the rise. Looked down. Another set of headlights. Closer this time. Him. Panic again. Ditch. Now. She lunged sideways. Too fast. Lost her balance. Tumbled. Rolled. Down the shallow embankment on the other side. Landed hard. The impact knocked the air from her lungs. Pain screamed from her ribs. Her stumps. Her scraped knees. She lay gasping. Like a fish on a dock. The headlights passed overhead. Didn't slow. She didn't move. Couldn't. The ditch here was deeper. Colder. Stop. Just stop. It's too much. The darkness whispered it. Soft. Seductive. Just close your eyes. Let go. The pain stops. Mary closed her eyes. For a second. Just a second. She saw the cliff edge. Felt the empty air. Saw Singleton's back as he walked away. Thought she was dead. Discarded. Forgotten. I will not die in the dark. The words weren't loud. They were cracked. Barely a whisper in her mind. But they were iron. Not like this. Not hidden in a ditch. Not where he left me. She opened her eyes. Stared up at the slice of sky between the road and the ditch. Stars were fading. Dawn was coming. Real dawn. No. She wouldn't die in the dark. She refused. Gritting. Her teeth. She found a root sticking out of the ditch wall. Hooked her elbow over it. Pulled. Screamed silently as muscles tore. Dragged her body up. Inch by impossible inch. Back to the road. Lurch. Drag. Jam. The sky lightened from black to gray to a dirty pink. Birds started singing. A cruel, cheerful sound. The road changed. The dirt became harder, grittier. Then pavement. Black asphalt. Cool under her knees. She'd made it. Off the dirt track. Onto a real road. Wider. Hope flickered. Weak. Guttering. Then she heard it. A low, constant rumble. Like distant thunder. But steady. Traffic. The highway. Interstate 5. It was close. So close. She lifted her head. Squinted down the road. Saw a glint of metal in the rising sun. Cars. Moving fast. Strength flooded her. The last dregs. Borrowed from somewhere beyond pain. She lurched faster. Dragged harder. Jammed her elbow down like a piston. Almost. Almost. She reached the edge, where the smaller road met the vast expanse of the interstate. Gravel shoulder. Then roaring lanes of traffic. She crawled onto the gravel. Stopped. She had no strength left to wave, to call out. She could barely lift her head. She just sat there, on her knees, on the shoulder of Interstate 5, a human ruin, covered in blood, dirt, and flies. Stumps held awkwardly away from her body. Head hanging, dawn light washed over her, warm on her face. She'd made it, out of the ravine, through the woods, down 3 miles of hell. She hadn't died in the dark. Mary Vincent knelt on the gravel, broken but breathing, and waited for the world to see her. Dawn light, pale gold now, spilled across the asphalt of Interstate 5. Mary Vincent knelt on the gravel shoulder, a statue carved from agony and dirt. Her head hung low. Her breath came in shallow, ragged hitches. The world felt thin, translucent, like she could see right through it. The rumble of engines was a constant vibration in the ground beneath her knees. A massive semi-truck roared past. Wind whipped at her, a hurricane blast of diesel fumes and hot air. It didn't slow, didn't stop, just a wall of noise and speed, gone in seconds, leaving her smaller, more alone. No one sees me. The thought drifted, cold and heavy. Maybe this was it. Maybe she'd crawled 3 miles just to die here, on the edge of the highway, while the world rushed blindly by. Her vision blurred. The gray asphalt swam. The lines separating the lanes bled together. Just rest. Then, another sound. Different. Slower. Closer. Not a truck's growl. A van's steady hum. It pulled onto the shoulder ahead of her. Brake lights glowed red. Mary didn't lift her head. Didn't have the strength. She just waited. For tires to crunch gravel. For a door to slam. For his footsteps. Singleton. Come back. Fear. Cold and sharp. Pierced the fog of exhaustion. But she couldn't move. Couldn't hide. She was done. The van door slid open. Footsteps. Not heavy boots. Lighter. Hurried. Voices. Jim, look. Over there. A woman's voice. Tight. Confused. Jesus. What is that? A mannequin? Some kind of prank. A man's voice. Bewildered. They were talking about her. Like she wasn't human. Like she was trash dumped by the road. The footsteps came closer. Stopped. Silence. A long, awful silence. Mary could feel them staring, taking in the blood, the dirt, the flies buzzing, the horrible absence where her arms should be. Then, oh my God, the woman's voice, a strangled whisper, shattered by horror. Jim, it's a girl. Alive, the man's voice cracked. How? Mary forced her head up, an inch, just enough to see them through the tangled mess of her hair. A man and a woman, middle-aged, ordinary faces frozen in disbelief. The woman, Erin, took a step forward. Her hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes were wide, terrified, heartbroken. Honey, Erin's voice trembled. Can you hear me? Are you alive? Mary's lips moved. No sound came out, just a dry click in her throat. She managed a tiny nod. It was like breaking a spell. Blankets. Jim, the blankets. Now, Erin screamed. Not angry, desperate. She didn't hesitate, didn't flinch from the horror. She ran to Mary, fell to her knees in the gravel beside her. It's okay. Honey, it's okay. We're here. We've got you. The words tumbled out. Frantic, soothing, a lifeline thrown into the abyss. Jim sprinted back to the van, fumbled with the door, came running back, arms piled high with thick, fleece blankets. Erin took one, gently, so gently, like handling spun glass. She draped it around Mary's trembling shoulders. The softness against her torn skin was almost painful. Another blanket went around her waist, bundling her, trying to hold in the tiny warmth she had left. "Who did this to you?" Jim's voice was rough, angry, staring at Mary's stumps, the impossible ruin of her body. "Who?" Mary tried to speak. Her throat was dust, her tongue thick. She swallowed, tasted blood. She forced air out. A whisper, barely a breath. "Old man." 2 words, chipped from stone, heavy with everything unsaid. Aaron gasped. A soft, wounded sound. Her eyes met Jim's. A look of pure fury and terror passed between them. "Get the van," Aaron snapped. "We need to go." Jim ran. Aaron stayed on her knees, facing Mary. Her hands fluttered, unsure where to touch, where it wouldn't hurt. "We're taking you to the hospital. Honey, right now. Just hold on. Please, just hold on." Mary's vision was tunneling, blackness creeping in from the edges. The warmth of the blankets felt distant, unreal. She felt herself swaying. "I'm cold," Mary whispered, a child's voice. "Lost. I know. Sweetheart. I know." Aaron's voice broke. Tears streamed down her face now, cutting tracks through the dust. Then Aaron saw it. Fresh blood, dark red, seeping through the blanket near Mary's right shoulder. Spreading fast. "Oh God! Oh God! No!" Instinct took over. Survival instinct. Mother instinct. Aaron didn't think. She reached out, placed her hands firmly, directly over the terrible wounds on Mary's shoulders. Where the arms had been severed, she pressed down. Hard. Mary's world exploded. White-hot agony tore through her. A silent scream locked in her throat. Her body arched. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Honey," Aaron cried, her voice raw with anguish. But her hands didn't move. "I have to stop the bleeding. Hold on. Please." The pressure was crushing, unbearable. It felt like being torn apart all over again. But through the blinding pain, Mary felt something else. Warmth. Human touch. Not violence. Not hatred. Care. The van door slammed nearby. Engine revved. Jim yelled something. Aaron kept pressing, her face pale, determined, tears still falling. "Stay with me. Look at me. Stay with me." Mary tried to focus on Aaron's eyes. Blue. Frightened. Fierce. The van pulled up beside them. Jim jumped out. Together, he and Aaron moved with terrifying speed and care. They didn't lift her. They scooped, supporting her back, her legs, avoiding the terrible pressure points on her shoulders as much as possible. They carried her the few feet to the open side door of the van, laid her as gently as possible on a nest of more blankets piled on the floor. "Go, go, go," Aaron yelled, scrambling in beside Mary. The van lurched forward. Tires spat gravel. They merged onto the highway. Acceleration pressed Mary into the blankets. The engine roared. Aaron was still there, kneeling beside her on the van floor. Her hands were back, pressing hard on the stumps, trying to stem the tide of blood soaking through the blankets. Her own arms were shaking with the effort. Blood coated her hands, her wrists. "Hang on. Honey, just hang on." Aaron pleaded, her voice cracking. "Talk to me. What's your name? Tell me your name." Mary's lips were cold, numb. She felt the darkness rising. Warm, soft, welcoming. It would be so easy to let go, to sink into it. The pain was too big. The world was too loud. But she looked at Aaron, at the terror and fierce love in her eyes, at the blood on her hands. Her blood, a feeling washed over Mary. Not pain, not fear. Something softer, brighter, gratitude. They'd stopped. They'd seen her. They were trying, with the very last dregs of her strength. Mary Vincent drew a shallow breath. Her lips moved, forming the words slowly, carefully. Her voice was a feather, a sigh, almost lost under the roar of the engine. "Thank you." Then the darkness wasn't rising anymore. It fell, swift, silent, complete. Mary Vincent passed out on the floor of a stranger's van, cradled by desperate hands, her blood soaking into borrowed blankets, her final words hanging in the air like a fragile prayer. Alive, for now, because 2 people looked and saw. The hospital was a different kind of battlefield. Bright lights, cold steel, the smell of antiseptic burning the air. Mary Vincent arrived more dead than alive. Doctors worked fast. Desperate, 20 units of blood pumped into her veins. 20 strangers' lives poured into her broken body, replacing what the ravine, the road, and Lawrence Singleton had stolen. They fought infection. They stabilized shattered bones. They cleaned the dirt and gravel ground deep into her stumps. They saved her life. But they couldn't save her arms. That loss was permanent, a brutal fact carved into her flesh. Mary woke to a new reality. Bandaged stumps, phantom pain screaming from limbs that weren't there. A body forever changed. She was 15, and she was armless. The world outside the hospital walls demanded answers. Lawrence Singleton was arrested quickly. Mary's whispered words, "Old man," and the trail of blood led straight to him. The hatchet, the wrench, her blood in his car. The evidence was horrifying, overwhelming. The trial began. Mary Vincent walked into that courtroom, not as a victim carried on a stretcher, not hiding. She walked in, on her own 2 feet, and she wore her prosthetic hooks. Cold metal, functional, unflinching. She sat in the witness stand, looked directly at Singleton, the man who offered a ride, the man who shattered her skull, the man who raped her, the man who swung the hatchet 3 times, left 3 times, right, who dumped her like trash. She told her story, calm, clear, precise. No tears, no wavering voice, just the facts, the horrifying, impossible facts. She never cried, not once, not in that courtroom. The jury found Singleton guilty, guilty of attempted murder, guilty of aggravated mayhem, the legal term for hacking off a human being's arms. The judge sentenced him, 14 years, 14, for attempting to erase a 15-year-old girl from the earth, for leaving her armless in a ravine. Mary heard the number, 14 years. It felt small, insultingly small, a slap on the wrist for an earthquake of evil. But she didn't react, didn't scream. She kept her face still. Her hooks rested quietly in her lap. Lawrence Singleton went to prison. He served 8 years. 8. Good behavior. Overcrowding. The machinery of justice grinding out its hollow mercy. He walked free. A free man. While Mary Vincent carried the prison of her body every single day. Life, stubbornly, went on. Mary didn't let Singleton define her. Not completely. She learned, adapted, fought for a new kind of normal. She married, found love, had 2 sons, changed their diapers, fed them, held them, all without arms. She learned to write, to eat, to drive, with her feet, with her prosthetics, with pure, grinding determination. And she discovered art, painting. She held brushes between her toes, dipped them in color, swept them across canvas, creating beauty, not with hands, but with the feet that had carried her 3 miles to the highway, the feet that had dug into gravel on the cliff face. Her art wasn't pretty pictures. It was defiance made visible. Color splashed onto the darkness Singleton had tried to drown her in. Then, the news came, years after Singleton walked free. He'd done it again. Another woman, in Florida, Rosemary Chick, a homeless woman. He lured her, attacked her, brutalized her, murdered her, stabbed her over 30 times. He'd learned nothing, changed nothing. The monster inside him hadn't been caged by 8 years. It had just waited. The rage felt fresh, like salt rubbed into wounds that never truly healed. The injustice of his light sentence screamed louder than ever. He should never have been free. Rosemary Chick would be alive. Reporters swarmed Mary Vincent. Microphones thrust forward. Cameras hungry for her pain. Her anger. What would she say? Would she break? Would the tears finally come? Mary Vincent stood before them. Straight. Eyes clear. Her prosthetic hooks visible. No tears. No hysterics. Just a calm, fierce certainty radiating from her core. She looked into the cameras. Spoke directly to the monster. To the world. To every survivor listening. He took my arms. He tried to take my life. He took Rosemary Chick's life. But he didn't break me. I survived. I'm raising my sons. I'm living. I'm painting. I'm still here. Her voice didn't shake. It rang. Clear. Strong. Unmistakable. I survived. I'm still here. Not a cry for vengeance. Not a sob of victimhood. A statement of fact. A declaration of existence. She was Mary Vincent. She had climbed out of hell with no arms. She had walked 3 miles of agony. She had survived 20 blood transfusions. She had faced her mutilator in court without flinching. She had built a life, created beauty. She had outlived the monster who tried to destroy her. And she was still here, breathing, living, enduring. Her survival wasn't just a medical miracle. It was a daily act of rebellion, a middle finger carved not in stone, but in the relentless, breathing fact of her continued existence. The cameras clicked. The reporters scribbled. Mary Vincent turned, walked away, back to her life, back to her sons, back to her canvases, back to the defiant, unbroken act of being here. Still, always, here. Mary Vincent's story isn't about a monster. It's about a 15-year-old girl who refused to become a statistic. She climbed a cliff with no arms, walked 3 miles with no blood, and lived 45 more years, and counting, with no forgiveness for evil. We measure human will in moments. Mary's moment asked, "How much can one body take?" Her answer rewrote the limits of courage, and it echoes in every step you take today.